You have spent decades doing this. Someone offers you genuine kindness, a compliment, a helping hand, an act of care that costs them something, and instead of letting it in, something in you quietly pushes it away. You didn't have to do that. It's really not necessary. I'm fine. You've been saying those words for so long, they don't even feel like a choice anymore. And after all these years, you still don't fully understand why receiving care feels harder than carrying everything alone. This video is going to change that. Most people who struggle to accept kindness assume it means something is wrong with them, that they're ungrateful, difficult, emotionally broken in some way they should have fixed by now. But psychology says something completely different. This response isn't a personality flaw. It isn't rudeness. It isn't something to be ashamed of. It is a deeply intelligent nervous system response built in a childhood environment that taught, through consistent, repeated experience, that kindness wasn't something that could be trusted without cost. You didn't learn to reject kindness. You learned to survive without it. And those are two very different things. This video is meant to educate and validate, not diagnose. If anything here feels personally relevant, speaking with a mental health professional is always the right next step. You deflect compliments before they've finished landing. You feel uncomfortable when someone genuinely offers help, even when you need it. You minimize what you've done when someone praises you. You say, "It's nothing," before anyone has called it something. You find it easier to give than to receive, more natural to take care of others than to be taken care of. And you've never fully understood why. If that sounds like you, stay with me. Before we get into the 3 reasons, it's important to understand where this pattern actually starts. Emotional neglect in childhood doesn't always look dramatic. It doesn't require obvious cruelty or visible damage. Often it looks like parents who were physically present but emotionally unavailable, who were in the room but not attuned to what the child was feeling, who didn't respond consistently when the child needed comfort, validation, or emotional connection. In that environment, the child learns something very specific. Nobody is coming to meet this need, so I will meet it myself. And gradually, completely, they learn to parent themselves emotionally, to not need, to not ask, to handle their own inner world without expecting anyone else to participate in it. That self-parenting becomes more than a coping strategy. It becomes identity. And now, years later, decades later, when someone tries to step into that space with genuine kindness, it doesn't feel comforting. It feels like an intrusion into the one place that ever felt truly safe, the place where you needed nobody. And that is where all 3 reasons begin. Specific psychological reasons why kindness feels uncomfortable after emotional neglect. Where each one comes from, why each one makes complete sense given your history. And one small, realistic healing step that doesn't require becoming a different person, just doing one thing slightly differently. This isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about finally understanding what's been happening. Reason 1, the debt reflex. The first reason is the one most people recognize immediately. Someone is kind to you, does something for you, offers something genuine without being asked, without expectation, without any visible agenda. And before the warmth even arrives, something in you starts calculating. Not consciously, not deliberately, but automatically. A low, anxious sense that this kindness has created an obligation, that you now owe something, that the care being offered isn't free, it's a transaction, and at some point, that transaction will come due. So you minimize the kindness immediately. You insist it wasn't necessary. You start looking for ways to repay it before you've even fully received it. Because receiving without owing feels impossible. This is called the debt reflex, and it has a very specific origin. It comes from childhood environments where love and care felt conditional, where support came with expectations attached, spoken or unspoken, where receiving something from someone meant being indebted to them in ways that felt uncomfortable, unsafe, like you had surrendered something by accepting. Maybe kindness was followed by reminders of what had been given. Maybe help was offered and then used as leverage later. Maybe the message was never said directly, but you absorbed it anyway. Nothing is free. And that lesson, absorbed early enough, repeated consistently enough, created a nervous system that cannot receive kindness cleanly. That experiences gratitude and anxiety simultaneously. That feels the warmth arriving and immediately starts scanning for the cost. Not because the person offering it is untrustworthy, because the nervous system learned long before it could question the lesson that nothing given was ever simply given. And that lesson is still running. Every time someone is kind, every time you feel the reflex kick in before you've decided to activate it, the debt isn't real. But the reflex is. Reason 2. Cognitive dissonance. The second reason goes deeper, into a place most people have never looked clearly. Years of emotional neglect don't just create behavioral patterns, they create beliefs. Quiet, persistent, foundational beliefs about the self that run underneath everything, shaping how every experience gets interpreted before it's been fully processed. And the belief that emotional neglect most consistently builds is some version of this. I am a burden. I am too much. I don't deserve to take up that much space. You may not say this consciously. You may not even recognize it as a belief. It may have become so familiar, so deeply embedded, that it doesn't feel like a thought at all. It just feels like the way things are. And then someone is kind to you, genuinely kind. They treat you as if you matter, as if your needs are valid, as if you deserve care and attention and someone showing up for you without earning it first. And something inside you goes wrong. Not wrong in an obvious way, not a dramatic reaction, but a quiet, physical, visceral sense of this doesn't fit. Because the kindness contradicts the map. The internal map says, I am not someone people do this for. And the kindness says, you are exactly someone people do this for. Those two pieces of information cannot exist comfortably in the same nervous system. So the brain does what brains do when they encounter information that contradicts their existing model. It rejects the new information. Not because you chose to, not because you're ungrateful, but because accepting the kindness would require rewriting a belief about yourself that has been operating quietly, constantly, for as long as you can remember. The kindness isn't rejected because it isn't wanted. It's rejected because it's too unfamiliar to be absorbed without friction. And the discomfort you feel in that moment, that specific, hard-to-name wrongness, isn't about the person being kind. It's about a map that needs updating. And maps built in childhood, written in the language of pain, are the hardest ones to redraw. Reason 3. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. The third reason is the one that creates the most persistent vigilance. And it may be the most exhausting of all. In many emotionally neglected childhoods, care and attention didn't arrive consistently. They arrived in specific circumstances, often in difficult ones. When the child was in crisis, when something had gone visibly wrong, when the situation was bad enough that even an emotionally unavailable caregiver had to respond. So the nervous system built an association. Care arrives before something bad happens. Kindness precedes disappointment. Warmth is the weather that comes right before the storm. And now years later, when genuine kindness arrives, something in you doesn't simply receive it. It starts scanning. Not for the kindness, for what comes after. The disappointment, the withdrawal. The moment when the care turns out to be temporary. The moment when the person who was kind reveals the cost or simply disappears. You're not being paranoid. You're not looking for problems. Your nervous system is running an old prediction based on old evidence, and the prediction says, when things feel good, something bad is coming. So, you can't fully relax into the kindness, can't fully let it land, can't fully trust that this warmth is simply warmth without a storm behind it. You sit in the compliment with one eye on the exit. You accept the help with your body already bracing for the moment when it gets taken away. You let someone be kind to you while a part of you is already preparing for the disappointment that your deepest pattern says is inevitable. The exhaustion of this is enormous. Not the exhaustion of being vigilant. The exhaustion of never being able to simply receive something good without simultaneously preparing for its withdrawal. That kind of tiredness doesn't come from the body. It comes from a nervous system that learned, long ago, that kindness and safety don't always arrive together. If any of those three reasons felt uncomfortably familiar, you're exactly who this channel was built for. UNFELT exists for people who are finally finding language for patterns they've carried for years without understanding. Subscribe, hit the bell icon. There's more here that was made for you. Now let's go deeper. Because underneath all three reasons, there is one truth that connects them all. When you learn to parent yourself emotionally to not need, to not ask, to handle your entire inner world alone, that self-sufficiency became more than a strategy. It became identity. It became the thing that felt safe, the thing that felt stable, the thing that never disappointed you because it never required anyone else to show up. You became someone who could carry anything alone. And that ability, built from necessity, practiced through years of emotional self-reliance, became the most reliable source of safety you had ever known. Now, when someone offers genuine kindness, when they try to step into that carefully self-managed interior space and offer care, something in you resists. Not because you don't want it, not because you can't see that the kindness is real, but because receiving it means temporarily surrendering the self-sufficiency. It means becoming for a moment someone who needs. And for a person whose entire emotional architecture was built around not needing that moment of receiving, feels less like warmth and more like losing control. Losing control of the one system that ever kept you safe. The one system that never let you down because it never required anyone else to function. This is the deepest reason of all. The kindness isn't rejected because it isn't wanted. It's rejected because receiving it requires a vulnerability that your nervous system has spent years, maybe decades, learning to avoid. And unlearning that slowly, carefully, without destroying the strength that survival built, is some of the most important work a person can do. Here is what I want you to take from everything you've just heard. You didn't become this way because something went wrong with you. You became this way because something went consistently unmet around you. The debt reflex wasn't a malfunction. It was an intelligent response to an environment where kindness came with hidden costs. The map collision wasn't emotional damage. It was a belief built from years of evidence that said your needs weren't important enough to meet. The vigilance wasn't paranoia. It was a nervous system protecting itself from the specific pain of trusting something good and finding it temporary. Every response was intelligent. Every response protected you. The question now is not what's wrong with me. The question is, am I still in the environment that required these responses? Because if the answer is no, and for most people watching this, it is, then the work isn't fixing what's broken. It's gently, slowly, patiently building new evidence. Evidence that kindness can arrive without a cost, that care can exist without conditions, that receiving is survivable, one moment at a time. So what does building that evidence actually look like? Not a transformation, not a personality overhaul, something much smaller than that. It's called the 5-second rule. When kindness arrives, a compliment, an offer of help, an act of genuine care, the automatic response is to deflect. It's nothing. You didn't have to. I'm fine. Those words arrive before you've decided to say them. They are the nervous system's first response, the fastest available exit from the discomfort of being seen in a moment of receiving. The 5-second rule is simple. Before the deflection, pause for 5 seconds. Don't explain, don't minimize, don't perform gratitude you don't feel yet. Just pause. And then say 2 words. Thank you. That's it. Not because the discomfort disappears. It won't, not at first, not for a while. But because the pause creates a small gap, a gap between the automatic response and a deliberate choice. And in that gap, repeated enough times, practiced enough times, built slowly over weeks and months, the nervous system begins to accumulate something it has never had enough of. Evidence. Evidence that kindness arrived and nothing terrible followed. Evidence that someone gave something and no bill came. Evidence that receiving didn't cost you your safety. Evidence that being cared for is survivable. One 5-second pause at a time. One thank you at a time. That is where it begins. You didn't reject kindness because you didn't deserve it. You rejected it because you were never taught that you did. The child who learned to survive without consistent care didn't do anything wrong. They didn't fail at connection. They didn't choose to become someone who flinches at warmth. They did the only intelligent thing available to them. They stopped reaching for something that kept not being there. But you are not that child anymore. And kindness, when it arrives now, genuine, offered freely, with nothing hidden underneath it, is something you are allowed to let land. Not all at once, not perfectly, not without the discomfort that will probably still show up for a while, but slowly, one moment of receiving at a time. One pause before the deflection. One thank you that you let yourself mean. You were never ungrateful. You were just never taught that kindness could come without a cost. And now, slowly, imperfectly, one small moment at a time, you get to learn something different. Before you go, which of these 3 reasons resonated most deeply with you? The debt reflex, feeling like kindness creates obligation? The map collision, kindness conflicting with what you believe about yourself? Or the other shoe, waiting for the warmth to turn? Drop your answer in the comments, 1, 2, or 3. I read every single one. And if this video finally explains something you've been carrying for years without understanding, subscribe to UNFELT. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. This channel exists for people who are finally ready to understand why they became who they are. You're exactly who this was made for.